The worst fighters in every weight class of the UFC, flyweight to heavyweight. We got every single one of them on this list. We got Mitch Raposo, Angel Pacheco, Manolo Zecchini. We got Mohamed Yahya, Pete Rodriguez, Dylan Butka, Tuco Tokos, as well as Sean Sharaf on the list. Now, we had a lot of controversy yesterday when we made this post on Instagram, as well. Nobody really liked the facts that I tagged every single one of the fighters on this post. And everyone in the comment section was getting a little crazy about me tagging them on the post. We had the likes of Tuco Tokos, who is on this list, get very, very mad at me, DM me and tell me to suck his blank, and things like that, which was very, very funny. We could show you that in a live stream or something like that. We also had Weston Wilson here. I don't know if you guys can see it. He said, "How am I not on the list?" Just kidding. Ha ha ha. Yeah, Weston is I really, really do like Weston there, but this is who we got for the current UFC roster. This is who I think is the worst fighter in every single UFC weight class. Again, we had Tuco Tokos literally DMing me and asking for a picture of myself to find out what I look like and who I am, and he was telling me to, suck his blank. That's all I'll say about that. Tuco Tokos, very funny man. He was also making mom jokes. If we can look at that, let's find it. He made what did he say? He said, "Lamau, I fought two undefeated prospects, one on 3 days' notice, and the other beat me by decision. Plus, Bert's mom adores me." With a smiling emoji. Very funny guy. But yeah, this is who we got. We got Mitch Raposo as number one for flyweight. Again, he's not a bad flyweight. It's just for the UFC flyweight division and how good the UFC flyweight division, it was kind of him and like two other guys that I was kind of debating, in maybe a Kevin Borjas, who I was definitely thinking about, as well as Felipe Buenas. Felipe just beat Jose Johnson, but he got knocked out bad by Josh Van. I was really deciding if it was Felipe Buenas, Kevin Borjas, or if it was indeed Mitch Raposo for that one. I still don't know 100%. It could be Liam Jargle to Dembro. There's definitely a debate to be had on who the worst UFC flyweight is. But again, it's not like I'm saying they are a bad fighter. It's just the flyweight division in the UFC right now is just so good, especially right now. So many undefeated and great up-and-coming prospects in that flyweight division. We got Bantamweight as well. Angel Pacheco. He is currently 0-1 in the UFC. Lost to Kalan Lafren. Lost in the Contender Series as well. So he's basically 0-2 inside of the UFC. He fights like once a year, so not a very active fighter either. Got dominated by Danny and Kalan. Kalan, I have ranked really, really low as well, especially since he lost to Jake Hadley, who is a flyweight. And, Angel lost to Kalan. He's 33 years old. He's not really UFC caliber in my opinion. Hard guy to finish. 3 decision losses. No losses by finish. But yeah, he's just not UFC caliber for me personally. So yeah, Angel Pacheco is the worst bantamweight on the current UFC roster. And then we got Manolo Zecchini, 11-4 from Italy. I don't know where he's been. I really, really don't. His last fight was in 2023. Had a few wins before that, but 2 wins in a row off losing against a regional fighter in Karamatulo Sufiev, who is not a bad guy in his own right. 10-1, and should be in the UFC himself, but he joined the UFC and immediately got body kicked into oblivion and knocked out by Morgan Charrier. Out of all the guys at featherweight, there's a few guys again, just like the flyweight division with Mitch Raposo, where there were other guys definitely in contention to, be the worst featherweight on the roster, along with Manolo Zecchini, and I could look for some of them. Con Offley could definitely be in contention. Crone Gracie, but he has a win over Alex Caceres, so I can't really do that. Yeah, it's definitely tough when you got a lot of guys that you think are right around the same level. Steve Eugen, but he's got a win over AJ Cunningham. And AJ, I would have put AJ on the list, but he's moving down to bantamweight. Eric Silva's in contention for his 2 losses as well. So It was a tough one. It was definitely a tough one. I had to go Manolo Zecchini. Again, Eric Silva's definitely, I think, number 2. I think Eric Silva had to have been number 2. Then we got Mohamed Yahya for the UFC lightweight division. 12-5. He's 0-2 inside of the UFC. On the regional scene, he's going to a decision in 3 of his 5 wins before joining the UFC. And, we got Darst by Dan Collins before that. I don't know where Dan is, but he's like 30, 40-something years old. And he got Darst by him. Joined the UFC, lost to Trevor Peek, who is now a featherweight, and then he lost to Cowboy Fernandez. So, it's just not that good. For lightweight, how stacked lightweight is, Muhammad Yahya is just, he's at the bottom of that list, in my personal opinion. Then we got the welterweight, Pete Rodriguez. He actually has a win in the UFC over Mike Jackson. Lost to Jack Della Maddalena in his UFC debut. I don't know why they put that fight together as his debut, why he even got a shot inside of the UFC. I know he had 4 round 1 knockout wins in a row, but what are we doing? He beat Mike Jackson after that, but we all know Mike isn't an actual UFC fighter. Then he got knocked out badly in 32 seconds. That's what sealed it. If he had just lost to Jack Della and beat Mike Jackson, I wouldn't have put him as the worst fighter. But he got flatline KO'd by Themba Gorimbo in round 1. 30 seconds in, he has to top my list at 170 pounds. Then we got Dylan Butka, 7-5, 0-3 inside of the UFC. Lost to Cesar Almeida by knockout, Edmund Shabazian by knockout, and dominated by Andrei Petroski. Also lost to Azamat Bekoyev, who's also in the UFC. He's almost UFC caliber. He's not, in my opinion, but I believe... Give him 3 years on the regional scene. Let him get 6 wins together. Get to 13-4, 13-5, 14-5. I think then we start to decide if he deserves another shot back in the UFC. But right now, I really want to see him on the regional scene again, in some main events on the regional scene, fighting lesser competition because he's 25 years old. Improve on the regional scene. Keep getting better. And maybe we'll see in the UFC again, but I think he should be cut. I think all of these guys should be cut, if we're being honest here. But Dylan Butka, I think, should be outside of the UFC, improving again, and work on getting back in the UFC eventually in the next few years. Then we got Tuco Tokos, the man that's making mom jokes over here, 10-5. He's 34 years old, so I think he should be cut from the UFC, but I don't think he should ever be brought back. Again, this is just a personal opinion. He's 10-5, 0-2 in the UFC. Like he said, against good competition in Umar Sy and Navajo Sterling, but he also got knocked out by Ming Yang Zhang. His wins are against Myron Dennis, arm injury, 1-7 Brian Jackson, a decision against 5-6 Gabriel Timoteo. I'm just saying. I'm just out here saying. Decision win over a losing record, almost 40-year-old guy. Lost to Ty Gwerder, who's he's okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at the light heavyweight division. It was between Kevin Christian, I think his name was, him, and there's one other, Rafael Cerqueira, who's fighting over the weekend. But I had to be him. 0-2 in the UFC. I don't think he's UFC caliber. I think he's got to beat legit competition. Myron Dennis, arm injury, losing record guy, and he's not even able to finish one of the losing record guys. Yeah, I mean, I think he should fight on the regional scene again. If he goes on the regional scene and starts TKOing dudes, gets 3-4 wins in a row, I think we could see him back in 2025, 2026, 2027, even though he's older, but he's got to get finishes. Not just arm injuries and decisions over losing record guys. So, worst light heavyweight, got to be Tuco Tokos. Then for heavyweight, Sean Sherrod. This is no disrespect to Sean. It's just he got a short notice shot against another really lower ranked heavyweight, and, he just wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for the UFC. Beat a 1-4, 0-0, 0-1, and then a 3-1 guy in LJ Torres, which, again, not a horrible win, but the dude's 35 years old. The guy is 35 years old. Just wasn't ready for the UFC when he got his shot. I don't know. They gave it to him, of course, because he's stepping in on short notice. Already had a fight scheduled, so let him have a shot versus Junior Tafa and see what he's made of. But 31 years old. He showed some promise early on, but I mean, I think even like a Chris Barnett would be better than him. And Junior Tough, I rank in the top 5 worst as well, and he lost to him, so I had to put Sean Sharaf as last. So that's what I got. Ladies and gentlemen, the worst UFC fighters in every weight class. We got Sean Sharaf, who's 0-1 in the UFC. We got Tuko Tokos, who's 0-2. We got Dylan Butka, who is 0-3. We got Pete Rodriguez, who is 1-2, but that one win against a very, very horrible fighter. We do have, I keep forgetting this man's name. Kawi Fernandez versus Muhammad Yahya. There you go. Muhammad Yahya 0-2. Manolo Zashini 0-1. Angel Pacheco 0-1, but he also lost on Contenders, so I'd say 0-2. And then Mitch Raposo also, again, like 0-2, because he lost on Contender as well to Jake Hadley. So Mitch Raposo is the one that I'm really, really unsure of, as well as Manolo Zacchini. I think you could flip-flop. Mitch Raposo was somebody else. Manolo Zacchini was somebody else. But this is who I got for every weight class in the UFC. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one.